A lot of people buy properties. Then they only realize at that point in time that it was a bad investment because they didn't understand the type of properties they should be looking at versus the type of properties they shouldn't be looking at.
That when we see the building or someone owning the building and getting cash flow from that property, we are thinking that this is so easy because all I can do is to get a property and then it will actually yield the same result as the one that is actually doing that other side. Not really understanding what this person had to go through in order for them to get to that property. Man, I'm excited. Hope you had an awesome Christmas, man. This year was very special. I had a good year. Now, did you have a good year?
Man, I want to do this. I didn't do this correctly last time. Our team actually got us this. Our team got us this, and what this is, it's a picture of myself and Lebo. And then if you look closely, there's like millions of pictures that shows the previous property investing workshops that we had, man.
So did you have a good year?
Man, this is beautiful, bro. This is beautiful. So there's no ways that I didn't have a beautiful year.
Awesome. So today we're talking property investing, right?
Yeah.
Property investing, and now a lot of people have this conception that with property investing it's just a side hustle, right? So now when Neo came up with the topic, Neo's the one that came up with the topic today. When Neo came up with the topic that let's speak about is property investing is not a side hustle, right?
Yeah.
Now it got me thinking, how could you say that something that's supposed to last you a lifetime and also sustain other generations, right? How can you treat that as a side hustle? I mean, for me, it doesn't make sense, right? If I'm saying that I'm going to...
Man, I want to see in full HD when you speak about this.
Sure. If I'm saying that I'm investing in property right now and I'm treating it as a side hustle, however, at the same time, I want it to take care of my next generation, it doesn't really make sense. So what are we saying? We're saying that property investing is a hustle by itself. So you really need to understand that what is this hustling that we are saying that it's property investing. I mean, just as a disclaimer for everybody that knows hustle as everything negative, in this context, it's everything positive. We're speaking property investing, and this is not a trick me or scammy thing, right? This is just the real side of property investing. Now,
let's go into it. The reason why or how I came about it is that today we were having a one-on-one session with one of our clients. So she's about to go into property investing, and we're looking at the different dynamics and where she is, where she'd like to go, and then we literally are looking at the type of properties that we should be buying so that we can get to that destination. So when she said something today, that's when that hit me, that let's talk about property investing not being a side hustle. She was like, I'm getting so much pressure from my parents to buy a property. And then in my mind, it's like, do the parents really understand the back office when it comes to property investing? The reason why we came up with this topic is that we have also been under pressure from our uncles, whereby they were like, why don't you build X amount number of rooms of bachelors so that more people can rent out? But now if I'm coming through looking at property investing as an investment itself, why am I saying property investing as an investment? A lot of people, when they're looking at investments, this is the example that I gave to her, is that I have an investment with Bank A. But now if you are to ask them that why did you take this particular investment with Bank A, it becomes really blurry that this is the reason why I took it, because it's better than Bank B, C, and D. So now let's bring that back to property investing, because now at the end of the day, this is our biggest investment. And if we are saying that this is your biggest investment, there needs to be a whole lot of thought put into it that this is the reason why I'm buying this one.
Yeah, man, if you know anybody that is interested in property investing, just make sure that you do share this live or share this video on YouTube so that we can reach a wider people. So now I wanted to speak about property investing being a passive income, right? And now that can trick someone into thinking that it's going to be a side hustle, right? So now let's really understand what side hustle means. Side hustle means that I'm only going to be doing this when I have the time for doing this particular thing. Now I want to put you in a particular situation. Say for instance right now you're sitting at home and then a tenant calls you and tells you that they have a leaking pipe right now and it's flooding the whole house, right? Is it possible for someone to say that, man, that's my side hustle, man, I'll see it or I'll get to it when I have the time? You can't do that, because now you're dealing with something that's really what do they call it? What do they call
delicate.
it? It's delicate. You're dealing with something that's delicate because now this is somebody's life. This is somebody's assets that are in that property.
Yeah.
Now, the longer you take to fix that particular thing, the more damage it's going to do to your property. So you have to rush to that thing as soon as possible. So now, if we're saying that it's a side hustle, now we are saying that it's no more side hustle if I'm saying that if it needs me, I need to be there at that particular time. So now, this part, right, that I wrote down now, is, yes, it does give you passive income, but getting the right deal needs the work. Right?
I remember with what you just said right now. I remember you got a call, Level got a call, and then the gent is like, please come through, man. There's something wrong with your lights somewhere, somehow. So we like, and imagine that time we're preparing for a workshop. We host property workshops across South Africa. Yes, this year alone we hosted 6 property workshops and it was fun. But anyways, going back to Level, he gets a call, we're preparing our notes, he gets a call, dude, come through, man. There's something wrong with your electrical wiring somewhere, somehow.
He says there's electric shock, man.
Hey, and we went there running. Pela, you know that it's an expense when a tenant calls. A tenant won't call you to say Happy Christmas.
And
did you receive any call for Happy Christmas?
Nah.
I mean, same here. So we get there, and then we look at the situation, and then we're like, okay, we had a couple of globes in the car. I mean, that's how you know that somebody's an investor, a stressed out investor. They just have a couple of globes there in the car somewhere, somehow. We get there with a couple of globes, and then before we first wanted to see what the situation is before we call the electrician. So Lego's also Mr. DIY. We get there with the globes, we put the new globes in.
These hands work, man. Hands work.
We put the new globes in, right? And then the wife was there. This is the sad part. I hope the tenant is not watching this, but if he is, we boy. So we get there, we change the globe, and then it went on. So now, can you imagine the embarrassment? I mean, we're not even proud of that moment, because at the end of the day, it took us like a 30-minute drive coming through. We left what we're doing only to change a globe. So
let's understand property investing, man. Is it really a side hustle? So now, I was saying that getting the right deal is the part that needs work. So now, as a property investor, I think this is the most important part that a lot of people don't really understand. They're thinking that if I'm a property investor, I need to be the one. If I'm a property investor, I need to be the one drawing up the contracts. I need to be the one that knows all about taxes. I need to be the one that is going to take out tenants or put tenants in. That part can be automated. I can get people to actually do that whole part. The part that can't be automated, especially for a property investor, is the property that you're actually purchasing. Right?
Yeah.
That's where the hard work actually comes in. I mean, you can find yourself viewing around 10 deals a week, viewing 10 deals, and none of them are actually for investment purposes. Now, this is where a lot of people get emotional now. I've viewed 10 deals, so for me right now, it doesn't seem as if deals are around. So what I do next time is that I just buy anything that's below market value, and I end up in a wrong deal. Whereas if you are inexperienced, or if you do know somebody that is an investor, they'll tell you that just wait until you get the right deal to actually invest in. It doesn't make sense for me to say I'm rushing to go into a deal. I rush to go into a deal, it makes a loss, and then at the end of the day, I lost the money. The main thing about investing, or the number one rule about investing, man, Warren Buffett has said this. The one rule about
I thought you were going to quote me.
No, not this time. Warren Buffett said that the number one rule of investing in anything is never losing money. So you'd rather save your money or hold on to your money than go into a deal that doesn't make sense or that's going to be running at a cash flow negative.
Yeah, man. Let me quote myself, because Lewy didn't want to quote me, so I'll quote myself. Right?
Please do that.
Looking at the situation, there's a video that we took out.
Can I please just say this, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we are recording the video. So we are recording the video. The full video is going to be posted on YouTube.
So the thing that I always say, and a lot of property investors don't get this until they are in a wrong deal. I say that we are cruising nicely. that's not my quote. My quote is that I'm not in a rush to be in a deal. That's where a lot of people get it wrong, that I got that first job, or now I'm able to afford another property, so let me close as soon as possible. I want to sign the offer to purchase. We're not in a rush to close that deal. I'm in a rush to close a right deal. It can take me 3 months. Like right now, we've searched more than, man, it's more than 4,000 properties that I can say.
I mean,
the viewings that we've done alone, I'm sure it's more than 40 properties. That's the amount of work that we're putting in. And now people don't understand why do we put in so much work. And I'm going to explain this and then you'll understand it.
I mean, at this point, no, we even considering driving 2 hours to get the right deal.
Yeah. There's a deal right now. That we're considering driving 2 hours. The reason being this, right? If you are quick to close, you sign the offer to purchase, only then you understand that you're not making cash flow positive. So cash flow positive is you're not left with money after all your expenses on a monthly basis. That makes it very hard for your business to grow. Because now if we're looking at your expenses versus your income, your expenses are more than your income. So what I'm saying is that the specific properties that we want, the expenses are less than my income. What that will do is that after a while, it will enable the bank to get confidence because now they can see that there's cash flow there. So going back to that statement that I made, that we're not in a rush to close. A lot of people are in a rush to close and you end up holding on to one property for 20 years. Then when you see Lebo growing, like every year he's buying one, it's as if, is he selling, I'm not sure if I can say that, but is he selling or not? But then he had a modus operandi. He had a thing whereby this is where I'm at, this is the type of properties that I'm buying, and this is the cash flow that I want so that I'm able to buy my next property.
So now this is something that I also would like to actually highlight to everybody, because now I'm seeing a whole lot of people going into these deals. If somebody is going to pitch something to you saying that they want you to purchase this property because it's a property and you can never go wrong with property, and in never going wrong in property, even if you do go on a cash flow negative, it's still fine. Run away, right? Now, the reason why I'm saying run away is that we've had a conversation with one of the people that were selling these properties, had a conversation, and we asked them that, are you a property investor? And they were like, yes, I'm a property investor. And you asked them that, if you were a property investor, would you invest in this deal? Now, when you're speaking to someone, you can tell if they are lying or not, right? Especially in their response, and especially if they're not really used to that question that you're asking them, right?
Yeah.
Now, there was a silence or there was a pause for around 3 seconds. And you know, when you're having a heated conversation, man, 3 seconds is a lot.
It's too much.
Yeah, it's a lot,
It's
man.
too much.
It's a lot.
3 minutes.
So now, that conversation, within that conversation, there was a pause. And then the response was that, I mean, looking at this property, after 10 years, it's going to increase its rental amount is going to be increasing 10% every year. Now, the question was that, practically speaking, I mean, theoretically speaking, maybe it does make sense, right? But practically speaking, from what you have seen in the rental space, I mean, you don't have to be a property investor for this. You can be actually renting somewhere or knowing somebody that's renting a place. If you were to ask that person that, does your rent increase on an annual basis consistently, you'll find out that it doesn't. However, in this pitch, the rental does actually increase on an annual basis. Now, the question is that, what is going to be different in that particular apartment or in those apartments or in those developments that's going to make their rental increase by 10%? I mean, there were other properties that we were viewing, their rental actually decreased in price. So imagine if you are running a shortfall of, let's say, 1,500, and then rentals decrease by 500. That means that now you're making a loss of that 500 plus the interest rates. So now when you're looking at that particular situation, that's the last thing that I would want you to be in. So now you're asking yourself that, okay, I understand that it's not a part-time or side hustle, right? Thing that I can actually do. So what do you have to do right now? So the thing that I've actually spoken about is networking. Networking, improve your negotiation skills. I mean, this part of improving, I mean, we can go back. Sorry now. We can go back on that. But now when you're looking at negotiation, I don't think a lot of people really understand negotiation or really take negotiation serious. Now in negotiating, we feel as if it's something that's natural or something that's instinctive, that comes to me instinct that, I'm a good negotiator. When you're going to negotiate, you need to always prepare, number one. Number two, also practice. I would like to challenge you for 2023. Read a book that's based on business, right? Read a book that speaks about negotiation. think we should have a book, The Art of Negotiating. I'm sure it must be somewhere out there. Have or read a book about negotiation. I'm telling you, you will never regret it. Going back to not being a side hustle. Apologies upon that.
So property investing is not a side hustle. So point number one, Level took all the points, man. He took all the points. So what I wanted to emphasize on is that sometimes what happens in property investing, I've seen this a lot with our property workshops that we're hosting, with people coming through. People are influenced by somebody they saw in the property space. Now, in a manner of what, or maybe somebody that I know, somebody that I've been working with, a colleague of mine, I've been working with this colleague, they bought an apartment, or they were given an apartment as inheritance. They were given an apartment as inheritance, and now what's happening is that it seems as if they're living the good life. So now, in my mind, we're both earning the same amount, we both have the same struggles. So as soon as this person inherited an apartment, now I'm seeing that they're living the lifestyle. So what that does to me psychologically is that I need to also get an apartment. So this is why we're saying that you need to be really, really, really careful when it comes to property investing, is that understand their expenses. Because now if I'm inheriting an apartment that's already fully paid off, I'm not having any expenses except my levies, rates and taxes, and it depends, of course, if water and electricity is prepaid or not. So that will depend about the arrangement. So now if you're comparing this person and now you're going to buy an apartment, let's say that you buy it at 800,000, only to find out that rental that side is 7,000. What that does now is that it leaves you at the back foot. What do I mean by saying that? Your expenses versus their expenses, they're not the same. So we need to be careful now that Spanban bought such a property and I want it. And I'm also going for it because I can see that they live in the good life. So another example is that I saw that the one was inheritance. The other one was that someone in our circle has been living in this property for a long time. I'm sure they even paid off the bond. So what then happened is that they converted that property into a student accommodation. Same thing. People from outside looked at this person who's owning the student accommodation. They were like, but Spanban is making a lot of money. Again, do you understand Spanban's expenses? So we're looking at them from outside, that they've got 20 students, and I want to run the numbers for you. Do we have a calculator? We've got 20 students. Let's look at it this way, right? We're looking at Spanban. We're looking at Sam. Let's give it a name. Sam owns, he owned a property. He converted it into student accommodation. It's got 20 students. Let's say each was paying at about 2,500. Worst case scenario. 2,500 times 20. That is
50,000.
Oh, you gave it away, bro.
50.
That's 50,000. So he comes to us and he says that, guys, I'm getting 50,000 a month from my properties. Look at their expenses now. With them, their expenses is more of, it will depend that with the beds and everything that they did they buy them cash or did they buy them with a loan? So now if I'm going to say that looking at this guy's income versus expenses, his income can be a lot whereby his expenses can be minimal. Now if I'm going to buy, because I saw Spanban saying that Sam saying that he has a student accommodation, he's collecting 50,000 and he's living the good life. So I want to also do that without understanding where did he start. I'm buying this house for 2 million. Already without even going any further, I am spending just on rental a minimum. If we're looking at what the prime rate is right now, buying it for 2 million, let's say I'm looking at 21,000 on bond. So what am I saying in conclusion is that do not look at the trend. Yes, you can look at something is working out for somebody, and then now we need to also understand where we are right now and what can we take so that we can also win from it. Because last thing I would want from you is adapting somebody's strategy only to find out that, hey, that thing burns. They're getting different results from you, and it's not you the problem, it's just that we do not understand what led them to that.
No, you know, when you spoke about that, right, it clicked into my mind where we're speaking of back office.
Yeah.
Right? When we're speaking of back office, you're speaking about something that you don't really see with your naked eye. Now, let's say you're in a restaurant today and you are waiting for a meal, right? Now, you didn't see how that meal was prepared. right? All you are seeing is the final outcome, and the dish is very nice. It's steamy, the meat is juicy. You don't see what happened for it to get to that particular point. Now, this is the same thing with property investing, that when we see the building or someone owning the building and getting cash flow from that property, we are thinking that this is so easy because all I can do is to get a property and then it will actually yield the same result as the one that is actually doing that other side. Not really understanding what this person had to go through in order for them to get to that property. Now, we had an example earlier on whereby we're saying that we viewed 10 properties, right? We viewed 10 properties, and when we do finally get a deal, at that point, if you're joining me at that point, it's going to seem as if what? I saw this property and I bought this property and that was it, right? Not understanding that there are a lot of things that go behind property investing. Number one, having a criteria for you to purchase the property. In my criteria, I don't have does the house have a pool? It's not there. I can guarantee you that. The property doesn't, or my criteria, does it have a jacuzzi? It doesn't have any of that. The reason why I'm saying that it doesn't have any of that is because those things don't necessarily play a huge impact in terms of my return on investment. Now, when you start speaking about return on investment, we're speaking things such as, is it below market value? At what point is it below market value? Number two. Number three, what are the amenities that are around that particular property? Now we're starting to speak something that really is duplicatable, right? Because now with the swimming pool, we're going to start saying that how deep is it? That doesn't really matter in terms of is it 25 foot deep or is it 6 meters deep? It doesn't really matter. What matters is that what's going to attract people to that particular property. And then this client was like, they want to buy a student accommodation. However, the property that they bought was close to a college. Now this college was not, right, was not part of the NSFAS. Now remember, whenever you're going to be applying for student accommodation, NSFAS needs to have approved that particular further institution, right? The educational institution. Now, that college wasn't approved by NSFAS, which ultimately says that that person can't actually get NSFAS approved. Now, he went on to build this nice thing and says that I want to rent it out, only to find out that he can't actually cater for those particular students. The only people that he was able to cater for is the students from UJ, and that's a long distance, which means that he now needs to buy a car that's going to be transporting these students to and from the particular place. So this is why I'm saying that you need to understand that what criteria are you following to actually purchase this property in order for you to understand that this is the right property that I need to buy. Man, 2023 needs to be awesome, guys. We can't be spitting so much juice, man, for nothing. No.
So today we're talking about property investing not being a side hustle. A lot of people buy properties. Then they only realize at that point in time that it was a bad investment because they didn't understand the type of properties they should be looking at versus the type of properties they shouldn't be looking at. And now that's our problem. That's what we do on a daily basis. Other than investing in property, we sit down with property investors and discuss in terms of what might be going wrong in their journey. So then you have a look at it and then you ask them that what pushed you to buy this property? You'll find answers that I don't even want to say this because I know it's sensitive, but I really want to emphasize the importance of us having this conversation because it really hits me on the heart when I am sitting down with a lady who just got her retirement fund. She built 20 units only to find out that it's not yielding those results. Or you find out that someone took a loan of 500,000, however, they're not yielding the results that they'll be getting. We are saying that property investing is your biggest investment that you ever do. Now, why would you go into such, if we are saying property investing is one of the biggest investments that you would be investing in, why would you go in this with minimal or little information about what you're really putting yourself in? Because now, that's the type of conversation that we're having. If you look at our page, it's nothing about no money down, wholesaling. We understand all of that, but we are hitting it where it really hurts in the sense whereby our people are crying. People are reaching out to us that I put money in, I'm not getting it out. What is happening? So we really need to have a conversation about if I'm buying cash, what does this really mean? Or if I'm buying credit, what does this really mean? So that when we're saying that it's a generational wealth, I'm saying it's generational wealth because 4 of my properties are giving me 20% return on investment, and I've got 300,000 on each as equity. I know that on year 5 I'll be buying a commercial property, and that's how I'm building my property portfolio. I'm not just buying a property because somebody sold it to me and then I'm like, hey, I'll see after 20 years, or maybe I want to push. I want to push with my salary to close it. If we sat down with our accountant, I had a real talk. Myself and Lebo sat down with our accountant. We said, man, let's discuss what's happening here. He told us, Chance, you're making a loss with your properties. You're making a loss. And then let's be honest. How are we going to scale if we're making a loss? It's going to be hard. I can't push my rentals to be 10,000 in an area whereby people are renting them out for 5,500. So hence, this thing really touches me, whereby we're too focused on how do I run away from tax, or how do I invest with no money down. I don't think the focus right now should rather be that let us start setting up systems like this, whereby we're really discussing what property investing is. If somebody has gotten burnt, let's discuss that before we go to, I've got 8 properties all around South Africa. Let's discuss where did I start and how did I move from this 1 property to the 2 properties, so that ultimately somebody can use that blueprint.
Oh, that got heated, man. Are you okay now?
Yeah. And next year we're going to host property workshops like crazy. Like this year, as I did mention, we hosted 6, even in COVID. In COVID, we were the only ones. You can go back to our YouTube channel and see that we hosted about 5 property workshops across South Africa. Cape Town, we were there. Centurion, we went there. Pretoria, we went there. Self-funded. We are about what property investing is.
Sure. No, that was really informative, man. That was really informative.